This is J. Krishnamurti's second public discussion at Brockwood Park, 1971.
What shall we talk about this morning? If we do choose a subject, let us go to the very end of it, deeply and very honestly, so that we really do understand something at the end of it. So, what shall we discuss?
Can we talk about decision?
Decision?
When division takes place, we are apparently faced with a need to decide. So this inevitably leads through a process to indecision, in which we are caught.
Do you want to discuss that?
What makes the difference between superficial awareness and total awareness?
What's the difference between superficial awareness and total awareness?
Does responsibility necessarily kill the spirit of
Beg your pardon?
Does responsibility necessarily kill the spirit of inquiry?
Does responsibility necessarily kill the sense of inquiry? Beg your pardon?
Should we ever decide, or should we let the things come along?
Is there such thing as decision, or we let things happen? Now, which of these shall we discuss? Talk over together. First one?
Responsibility.
Oh, Lordy, look. Which one? Please. Decision. Right. Beg your pardon? Awareness. I think in talking over together this question of decision, perhaps we can also go into the question of awareness. What is involved in decision? Choice, isn't it? Now let us go into this completely. You understand? Not your opinion against my opinion, or your judgment against mine, but let us inquire into this completely and go into it thoroughly, shall we? So that we shall find out at the end whether there is such thing as decision at all, and so on. I don't want to. Let's go into it. When we decide between two things, which implies choice, doesn't it? Right? Why do we choose at all? The choice between two houses, two motor cars, two materials, right? Apart from that, what is the necessity for choice?
When there is a desire, afterwards, choice.
When there is a desire, afterwards there is choice. That's what
The process begins when a desire arises.
the process begins when there is a when desire arises. We're asking, aren't we, why do I have to choose? And therefore, a decision has to be made.
Because I have conflicting desires.
Because I have conflicting desires, opposing desires, contradictory desires. Therefore, there is choice. Is that it?
Is that lack of clear perception, sir?
What, sir?
Is that lack of clear vision?
Lack of?
Clear vision.
Lack of clear vision. How do you choose, don't we? How do you choose? Huh? What to do? What to think? You do choose between two different roads. One is longer, one is shorter. One airplane journey is quicker than the other, and so on. There is that kind of choice, inevitably, and decision. Is there, we are inquiring, is there any other kind of decision, and choice? And if there is decision implies choice, right? Now, why does choice exist at all?
Insecurity.
Look at it, sir. Take time over it. Let's take time, little time.
Because I am divided.
Huh?
Because I am divided.
That's what, because you are divided, that is, you have different desires, different objectives, different passions, different interests. Right? Therefore, you choose between this and that, discriminate between this, what you call right, and that, what you call wrong, the essential and the unessential. So there is always this choice between the two. I'm asking myself, before I choose or decide or make a decision which implies will, why do I have to choose at all? What does choice imply? If I see something very clearly, there is no choice. Is there? If I know the road from here to some place, and I've investigated one or two and I've found the shortest, there is no question of choice. It's there.
You don't see clear urgency.
Go on.
It happens that you don't see clearly.
Therefore, that is it. There, when we don't see clearly, then the conflict of choice arises. Is that it? Right? No, let us go together with this. I don't see clearly what I should do. I have various roads of choices to make because I don't see clearly whether I should do this, that, or the other. And I'm confused. And out of that confusion, I have to make a choice. Or because I am confused, I choose. Just a minute, I can't.
Something else.
What were you saying?
I may also be limited if I choose to say, for instance, I'm interested to be an engineer, and I'm also very much interested in biology. I can't do both. action.
And wait a minute, that's a game. I have to choose. I don't know whether I should be an engineer or a biologist or an artist. And I'm not very clear. I'm still very young. I don't know what to do. Society wants me to do that. My parents want me to do something else. And I want to do some other thing. Right? And I say that I'm limited. I can't choose. I'm too young, or I'm too old, or too gaga, or whatever it is. So, what is one to do? One said, sure, let's discuss it. I want to find out why I choose at all, why there is such thing as choice. Does choice exist when I see something very clearly? It is only when there is uncertainty, no clarity, no perception, then I am forced to choose. But if I see something very, very clearly, it's finished. There is no choice. I have to go to London. And I want to do something here. There is no choice. And I want to be an engineer, but somebody else wants me to be an artist. I may want both things. I want to be an artist as well as a businessman. Well, what is one to? What is the decision there? Go on, sir, please. Is that your problem? Is this your problem? That you want to be an engineer, a businessman, or an artist, better. And you want to be a business, and somebody tells you must be a businessman. Are you faced with that problem, any of you? Or is it just a theoretical problem?
I don't know what I really want to do.
I really don't know what to do, what I want to do. How will you find out?
Is it not that one knows oneself so little? One has so many images of oneself in different roles.
So what will you do? I have an image of myself as an artist, and I have to go out and earn money because my mother is ill. So what am I to do? Go on, it's...
I will examine myself, see what I do, see what I'm interested in, and see what I am actually doing. And from that I will see.
Do you do all these things? Do you actually go through all this? Or do you just yield to circumstances? Please, sir, it's so impossible to discuss unless you... All right, let's go back. What does decision imply?
Rejection.
I decide. What does that imply? The decision. I decide not to be a drunkard. I decide not to smoke anymore because last night the doctors have found that it is dangerous for heart and brain, all the rest of it. So I decide not to smoke.
An action of the will.
Which means what?
In fact,
No, please, don't say, look, you smoke, some of you smoke. I don't smoke, but suppose I smoke. And I say, I must stop. I decide from today not to smoke anymore. I decide. What is that? What is involved in that decision?
Thinking in the thought. Why the separation, sir?
I'm just asking one question, sir. Why? What is involved in decision? Not only that, and also what? Resist smoking. I am in the habit of smoking. I have decided not to smoke, and I resist the desire to smoke. I have made up my mind to resist smoking. So there is a battle going on, right, between the decision and the habit. The habit of the body is used to this smoke, and it demands more, and it has to have it. And so I have intellectually listened to the doctors, fear. From that I have decided not to smoke. So there is not only resistance, fear is involved in it, and I am in a constant battle, wanting to smoke and resisting it all the time. Action of will over a long habit. I've taken a decision. Yes, sir. So what happens there? Create a new problem, don't I? Before I smoked, now I've decided not to smoke, and then there is that decision brings another problem, and so I keep problems going all the time. Is there a way of completely dropping without decision being resistance, fear, all that's involved in a decision when I say I must not smoke, is there a way of stopping smoking without any of that? But answer my question. Look what I've said. I smoke, or I take various forms of drugs. I'm an alcoholic, or God knows what else. And I decide to give up. I take a vow. Chastity, poverty, and all the rest of it. I take a vow. What happens? I'm always in a battle, am I not? Huh?
Self-negation.
I can't hear.
Self-negation.
Self-negation. Now, is there a way of understanding which is not based on decision, will, resistance, and yet not smoke? You follow? Break a habit without resistance. And so no choice whatsoever. Go on, sir.
The other problem is the habit, not the decision.
Yes, habit. How do I end a habit? Without resistance, without saying I must not, I must control, I must resist. Big one?
You don't plan tomorrow what you will do, but
I can't hear. Sorry, the aeroplanes are having the day this morning.
Donc la résistance,
Comment, madame?
la résistance vient donc d'un manque de lumière intérieure. On résiste parce que par-dedans on ne voit pas. Est-ce que c'est ça?
If you don't understand French, bad luck. I'm not going to translate. Look, I am asking something very... Please, let's stick to one thing. I know the way of resisting. I drink or smoke or attach to something, and I know the way, the traditional way of resisting, deciding not to do. And I see in that great deal of conflict is involved. Not only physical conflict, but intellectual, emotional. You follow, the whole problem of resistance arises. I want to find a way in which all that doesn't exist. And yet, drop smoking, drink, whatever it is, a habit, long established habit. Come on, sirs. No, please listen to my question first before you don't jump into it yet. Because I know the old way, which has been practiced. You have to change and no. What am I to do?
So if I observe the habit in action and see what it's doing to me, maybe it will drop away by itself without resistance.
You have habits, haven't you? No?
Yes.
Scratching your head or twiddling your fingers or, walking in a certain way. The habit of chattering, gossiping, dozen habits. Now, how will you end one of those habits without any resistance? Wait. Wait, sir, please do listen. Because resistance implies choice. And choice implies conflict, wanting, not wanting. And therefore, choice invariably arises when there is uncertainty, unclarity, confusion. So what am I to do?
The habit is only a small part of my whole conditioning. And I can't deal with it as a separate fact because it depends on so many other aspects of my psychology.
Yes, I am taking one thing. I am taking the habit of drink or smoke or God knows. Take one habit that you have. Actually. Don't invent a habit. Actually you have a habit. Scratching your nose or picking your nose or sitting in a peculiar way and insisting on a particular chair, whatever you have, habit.
I smoke, and I found that at times the need for the habit just disappears. There's some clarity of vision that I have, that I see that I don't need to smoke now, and I can go for days without smoking.
No, sir, I understand that, but take one habit now and see if it can end without any form of the old traditional approach to a particular habit. Please, I've stated it. Now you discuss it. Don't say must. Then you're lost. I want to end a habit without any resistance. Because I explained resistance implies decision, conflict, choosing, not the decision implies between this and that, should and should not. All that's implied. I don't want to enter into that chaotic activity. I want to end it. And I want to end it without any conflict. Now you sit with it for a minute and work it out.
The very want to end it, sir, creates a conflict.
No. Let's put it differently. That habit must be ended, or that habit must disappear. I don't know how you put it.
Giving total attention to it.
Huh?
Giving total attention.
Oh no, sir. Don't tell me. I don't know what you mean by total attention. I don't know what you mean by total attention. You heard the man talk about total attention and you repeat it. I've got a problem. Don't tell me I must be totally attentive.
Is it possible to see the danger of all habits bringing on the same thing?
All right. Is it possible to see the whole mechanism of habit? What is habit? Repetition. Doing the same thing over and over and over again. Right? Habit. Something. So go on. Huh? This, unless do you want to go into this? Conscious habits.
The whole image one has of oneself as a habit.
That's just it.
Seeking security.
Don't enlarge. Take one thing and go right through it. Don't substitute one word for another word, because then we get lost. I have habits. I have been brought up in a communist world, and I have that peculiar habit of thinking in those lines. I am brought up in a world of Islam, and I do that. So habit is established very deeply from childhood. Habit of thinking that I must do this or I must not do that. Right? Consciously, I know. And unconsciously, there are all the racial habits. Right? No? Oh, Lord. Am I talking? Unconsciously, there is the whole habit of a culture. So, my whole consciousness may be the result of habits. No? You're saying yes? Now, I am aware, there is an awareness of this, the mechanical habits of thinking as an Englishman, Frenchman, and so on, as a communist, socialist, labor, believing in God, not believing in God, I'm a Catholic, you're a Protestant, I'm a this, you follow? It's all habit, propaganda. Now, I'm aware of it. Aware. This thing exists as a cloud in which my whole mind is caught. Not only the habit of getting up regularly in the morning, 6 o'clock. If I don't get up at 6 o'clock, I feel upset. You know, all that business. Now, I'm aware of all that. the mechanical process of habits. Now how is the mind to break from that and not fall into another habit?
We cannot operate directly.
I don't know anything about it, sir. Tell me what to do. I am caught in this.
We cannot transform the habit, thinking about it.
You are saying you cannot think about it.
Yes. Anything.
So thought may be a habit. Thought may be a habit. No, you don't. Hmm? An awakening. How am I to be awakened?
When you say I, do you mean the mind?
Mind, sir. Quick to get on.
The mind is thought. Is the mind anything else than thought?
The mind. I realize that the mind, the body, all our feelings are caught in habits. And my habit is to drink. I somehow got into the habit of drinking, slightly getting tipsy all the time. What am I to do? How am I to end it without any form of resistance?
My experience was, I've never smoked in my life, but after the war we got lots of cigarettes from the Canadians, and I smoked a few, and I suddenly felt my hand go into my pocket, and I thought it just was stupidity at my age to start smoking, and without any resistance.
You dropped it.
Yes.
But that was a very short habit. Oh Lord, come on, sirs. I have a long habit of drinking. I used to know a friend in California. He had to drive home every night, always little stoned. And he didn't know quite which side of the white line he was driving. And he survived. But I'm in that position. I drink an awful lot, quietly in my room or so on. What am I to do?
So can I ask a question? Very simple question. For 16 years I smoked. I have not smoked now for 3 months. I have no desire to smoke. I do not think about it particularly. I do not even regard myself as a non-smoker. But I cannot remember how I stopped.
Gentleman says he does not know how he stopped. He's been smoking for 16 years. 3 years ago he dropped it, he didn't know how to stop it. That doesn't solve my problem. I want to know how to end my drinking without any resistance. You can't work at it, sir. You just answer. Huh? Well, please, it's my problem. Help me. Don't throw words at me.
My habit is supported by a certain way of feeling myself. And that way of feeling myself attracts a habit. If I could become more deeply aware of this way of feeling myself.
Sir, have you a problem of habit?
Have I?
Not you, I'm not here. Have any of you a problem of habit? All right, take it up, look at it, and see how will you be able to resolve it totally. No, madam, take a habit, I said, take a habit that you have, which you feel that's not pleasant, and you want to end it. And you want to end it so that your mind doesn't go through tortures, so that you come out of it clean, healthy, happily, drop it. Now, will you investigate the cause of that habit? You can trace it, can't you?
No, it takes time.
No, it doesn't matter. It may take time. You don't quote me, please. Look at it. You can trace it. Well, at school, as a boy, I smoked. It was the habit, and gradually fall into it. It tasted filthy, but I keep at it. Now, I know the cause. And I see merely the investigation and trying to find the cause of it doesn't end it. Right? Right? And mere decision, saying, I must not, makes for more conflict. My hand goes to my pocket, and I say, oh, for God's sake, all the things I go through, torture myself. And I say, I don't want to do that, and yet I want to be free of this terrible thing, or this thing which is my habit. Now, how am I to do it?
You said look at it, but if you look at it with an end in view, surely you're not looking at it totally.
That's right, sir. That's not ending totally. Now, I'll show you something. You want? Shall we go ahead together? Right. I want to end it. I means, it must be ended. Don't quibble of I and for the moment. I want to end it. And I want to end it so that at the end of it I've got much more vitality. You understand? Much more energy. And I won't lose that energy or that vitality in fighting a habit. So I'm at the end, when I've dropped it, it's like a new, you follow? Not just a dissipated old man who is wasted his energy fighting. So I said, I must approach it differently. Now, what is the approach? I must begin not with the problem, but somewhere else. Right? I'm going to go into it. Because the more I pay attention to the problem, the stronger the problem becomes. Are you following this? I am in the habit of smoking or drinking, whatever it is. And the more I give attention to it, say, I must not, you follow, I'm giving all my energy to something that's very trivial. Right? It may be a tremendous problem to me, but it's a trivial problem. Are we meeting each other? So I must begin somewhere else in which the little problem is absorbed, taken, devoured. I don't know if... Are we meeting? I must find energy which will not be dissipated by the little problem which I have. If I give attention to that little problem, I'm wasting energy. So I must find a greater energy which will, in its action, dissolve the little problem. And have we understood that? Intellectually, have we, please, are we meeting each other? Right. So where am I to begin? Where I'll have energy. And when I come to the little problem with its triviality is dissolved instantly. I must begin somewhere else. Am I making myself clear? Now, where shall I begin? You understand? They used to say, the old generation, begin with God. You follow? You understand? Put your faith in God. Put your faith in something higher. Again, that is useless. So I must find a way of never wasting energy. Because resistance is a wastage of energy. Conflict is a wastage of energy. Decision is a wastage of energy. I don't know if you... So I must find a way of awakening this total energy. Now, shall we go into that? Yeah. If you have understood my problem, if I made the problem clear, I'm going to begin by being aware, not practicing awareness. The moment I decide to practice awareness, it's a wastage of energy. I don't know if you see that. Right? So there must be an awareness without my deciding I must be aware. Right? Please, there must be an awareness without my deciding that I must be aware. See the importance, just that fact. Shall we move from there? An awareness at the core, at the center, not at the periphery. Right? Not at my habits, what I'm doing, my gestures, the way I sit, but an awareness at the very core, very center of my being. Don't say what is your being. At the very heart of my existence. But I have been accustomed to be aware of everything happening around me. Watching the trees, watching the people, watching what they are saying, watching my bodily movement, my twitching, my opening my mouth and putting my tongue out, all kinds of awareness outwardly, at the peripheral awareness. And I say that doesn't solve, that doesn't enter into the core of it. You understand? So I must begin at the very core of the thing. Are you doing this with me? Now, what does that mean? I moved the whole emphasis from the outer and not to the inner, but to a different dimension. I don't know if you follow this. Am I making myself clear? No, you're clear as mud.
Would you give us an example, a concrete example?
Oh, no, I can't do it. Just take this first. Look, sir, I said, Just look at it, listen to what I'm saying. I said, one is aware, one begins to be aware on the periphery. Right? Periphery being watching. The trees, the birds, the people's dresses, one's own habits. You follow? A very superficial awareness, right? And then one turns to an awareness inwardly. Say, from there I shall be aware. Right? Now I'm saying, don't do either, but have an awareness altogether at a different level. Is that making any sense? No, please, it must be logical. Otherwise it is no meaning. Because if I am aware of outward things, then from the outer I move to the inner. Then there is a division between the outer and the inner, and a time interval between the outer and the inner, a space between the outer and the inner, and from the inner I move to some other direction, which again involves time, space, effort. I don't know if you're following. Yeah. Ça y est? C'est clair? Do I see this? See it. Intellectually do I see this first? Begin with intellectually. That is verbally. That is with my thought, using logic, using capacity to think very clearly. Do I see what is involved from moving from the outer to the inner and then trying to go somewhere else?
It's a bit like turning, instead of downstream, upstream.
Yes, that's the same thing. In all this, there is division, you follow? And therefore conflict, and therefore resistance, therefore division. So, there is an awareness of a different, there's an awareness in a different dimension. Now, with that, I approach my habit. You understand what I'm talking? Do you get what I'm doing? Huh? Am I making myself clear? No, don't say no. Don't say yes or no. Do it. I see indecision, there is fear involved in it, a motive, saying if I smoke, I'll get lung cancer, it's terrible for the heart, doctors have said it, it is appalling, and other people say smoke, oh boy, it doesn't matter, after all, you will only have 10 more years or 5 years less, what of it? Have a good time in the meantime. And so on, so on. And I don't want to enter into all that. It's a waste of time and a wastage of energy. I see any form of division implies resistance. This is all part of an awareness of the outer as well as the inner. I'm giving you an example, sir. Are you following all? Am I moving too fast? I'm sorry, I can't. I'll go on. So I see indecision in giving up smoking, giving a particular habit, however good, however bad and good, they're just terms. I see what's involved in it. Logically, I see it very clearly, which is the awareness of the outer as well as the inner. Right? Which is the outer habit of smoking and the inner habit of fear, resistance, saying how I must get rid of it, I must fight it, and I get caught in that. So I see the outer as well as the inner movement of resistance and habit, right? And I see that doesn't solve it. So there must be an action in which there is neither resistance, nor decision, nor fear, nor emotive. Is this giving you a headache?
Yes.
I hope it is. No, do look at it, sir. Do look what I've said just now. The outer and the inner, the awareness of the outer is the awareness of my habit. Just the smoking, drinking. And the inner action of that habit is to fight it, resist it, decide not to, force myself, control myself, find a substitute for smoking or for drinking, chewing or whatever it is. I see, and there is a motive behind that. And trying to conform to that motive. Therefore, failing in that motive. They're saying, I can't do it, I must do it. Fighting all that, saying, I have no strength, I am a weak man, I am all that nonsense that goes on. Right? I'm following all this. So I see very clearly all that is involved in it. The outer awareness of it and the inner movement of it. And I don't want to touch it at all, because that has no meaning. So when I see this thing very clearly, I've already entered into a different dimension. I don't know if you follow this. Which one? Not I, please.
Yes, but I was going to say, the whole problem, the whole conflict doesn't exist there.
Where?
Well, there is a place, I don't know if you call it a dimension, but where the whole conflict is resolved by itself because it isn't there anymore.
I don't quite understand, Madam.
You talk about seeing the after, then entering and you have all this conflict. Then you move up in another direction, but in that direction, if you succeed in moving off...
No. Do you see clearly what is involved in habit and the decision to get rid of it? Do you see that very clearly? What is totally involved in it?
I would like to give a fantastic example.
No, don't give me an example. Philip.
Totally stop smoking without any resistance.
No, I don't. I'm not interested in stopping. I'm not interested in stopping smoking. I'm much more interested in something else. And when that operates, smoking will have lost its meaning.
There is pleasure in smoking, and I don't really know whether I want to give it up.
If you don't want to give it up, don't give it up. For the love of Pete, let's get on with this. If you want to smoke, smoke. That's much better than to fight it. Get to the grave as quickly as possible. Enjoy it. I'm talking I'm talking about a man who says, look, I've got this problem. Drinking, smoking, a great many habits which are most destructive, whether they're good or bad. And do I, after listening to you, do I see this thing completely? See it, understand it intellectually, verbally, with my heart, with my mind. Do I see this thing clearly as I see the microphone, clearly? And see the futility of it, what is involved, conflict, the pain, the agony that one goes through in giving up something.
Someone over there asked you a question just now. I want to say that again because you said no.
What is the question? What's the question?
She said,
how to get into the other dimension.
and then the problem doesn't
Madam, I don't know what the other dimension is. You can't get into it. It will only happen if I've understood the whole complex, intricate problem of habit, resistance, fear, motive, all that is involved in that decision. When I've seen that very, very clearly with my heart and my mind, then I've finished with it. You see, it's like a man who's got a belief, very strong, deep-rooted belief. He's attached to it, consciously or unconsciously. He can't give it up. It's part of him. And so, that belief divides people. Divides him, his family, his wife, divides. And he says, I begin to see the importance or the danger of such a habit. And he begins to see the whole pattern of it, the whole nature and structure of belief. Fear, the desire to find security in an idea. He has physical security perhaps, but he demands psychological security, which is much more urgent, much more deeper. And so he's attached to it. He can't break away. And as he begins to explore, inquire, he sees the whole structure of it, the nature of it, the division between you and me as believing in this and you believing in that. So he sees that very, very, very clearly. When he sees very clearly, there is no choice in it. He doesn't say, I decide to give it up. I don't know if you've when he sees clearly, the habit of belief is gone. He can never be caught in it again. So, do we see very clearly, not visually, of course you can't see this visually, perceive, understand this whole structure of habit, resistance, motive, fear, decision, choice? So, do you see it? What is it?
What is important in the awareness?
Come on.
What is important in awareness? The thing that one perceives, or this simple act of perceiving?
Is awareness simple act of perception, and in awareness is there this whole pattern revealed. Is that what you're asking?
In awareness there is the act to be aware, and there is a thing which is perceived.
No. In awareness, there is, gentleman says, the decision to be aware. And also in awareness, there is the act of perception. Right?
And also there is the thing perceived.
Yes, perception, the perceiver and the perceived. Sir, would you please, just a minute, would you please listen? You know what listening is? When I listen to you, I have no other thought. I listen to you. I have not my conclusions, my opinions, my understanding. Is this right? Is that wrong? Should it be this way or that way? I listen to you. Right? I'm listening to that man sitting on the platform, and he says, are you aware of this whole? You're listening. He's asking me, are you listening to what I'm saying? Which is, are you aware that you have got a habit, and because you have a habit, because you are aware of it, in that awareness, you begin, there is the movement of decision, resistance, fear, achievement, all the rest of it. Are you listening to what is being said? He tells me. Am I listening? Or am I saying, no, I understand a little bit, I don't quite understand all this. Does he mean this? Does he mean that? You follow? An act of listening is to listen from the beginning to the end. Not just take one sentence or one verb and say, does it mean listening from the beginning, going through the whole of it to the end. Have you such capacity to listen? Capacity in the sense, are you listening that way? Or are you saying, well, I began with him there and I've lost him there, now I'll pick him up a little later and this is, I've learned now the conclusion. Or is it one continuous movement? I listened to that man on the sitting on the platform, and I have listened to him from the beginning of the word to till the ends. I haven't projected any of my opinions, any of my conclusions. Either I understand, don't. I've listened. That means I'm going to listen to him. He says, decision from the beginning. He put that question. He said, what is involved in decision? Why do we decide? He said, decision implies choice. Choice implies between the two. And we do choose between that a car and that car, between that material and so on, so on. But we don't choose when we say, I love that woman. Do you? You don't. But doesn't matter. So, and he says, resistance implies not only division, but conflict. I decide to give up smoking. It is a partial act, not a total act. The decision has taken, listen to carefully what the man is saying. The decision is partial because it's an intellectual conclusion that I must give up smoking because it's bad for you. Doctor says it will hurt your heart. Your life will be in danger. Therefore there is fear. Therefore I have decided to give it up. That decision is partial, not total. And therefore there is conflict between an intellectual decision and the fact that I must give it up. Right? And in that decision, there is conflict, because there is a motive involved in it, because there is an end towards which I am working to give up. So I say that we know very well, that's our traditional, everyday, cultural habits. Say that is the only way to achieve something. And the man says, I want to be a revolutionary, not just a traditionalist, and I want to wipe the whole thing out, look at it totally differently. And so he says, be aware of this whole thing. Aware your habit. In that there is no choice. Because the moment you choose, you have decided. Just be aware of it. The outward habit. Then see what is involved in that habit. The fear, the motive, the decisions, the urgency, the saying I must not, putting the body in through a torture. All that is a wastage of energy, which does not solve the problem. You still go on, there's still the hankering for whiskey or for whatever you drink, or the smoke, for smoking. So, have you listened from the beginning to the end? Listening means seeing this whole thing very, very clearly. And when you see the thing absolutely, not relatively, absolutely clear, then there is a different state of energy with which you can then come back and say, now what shall I do with this particular problem? And you will see it, you will know how to deal with it. Got it?
How useful one tries to get into that state of awareness?
Madam, I explained it. I just explained it, madam.
Surely we may see this intellectually, but not with our whole being.
That's your affair. So I said, listen. Or call it what you like, the total tent or anything you like.
May I ask you a question? When you say the whole structure, you refer only the structure of the habit or the whole that the mind can perceive in a moment?
That's what I mean. The whole means the whole.
The whole of the
Yes,
mind.
I said so, sir. You know, the word whole means also holy.
It seems that then the act of perceiving is the most important thing.
You see, you are still... I give it up. Sir, you go to a museum and you see a picture. And first you say, but who painted it? If it is Rembrandt, if it is Picasso, if it is Botticelli, then you say, but you... And you look at it. And then you compare it with this. Michelangelo painted it, but he was a homosexual, therefore he put all those men naked, and therefore, and so on, so on, so on, so on. So you begin to compare. And what are you doing? You're not looking at the picture. You're looking at, thinking about Michelangelo and all his peculiarities, the Leonardo and with his peculiarities. You're comparing, judging, evaluating. You're never looking. And the painter also has his peculiarities, and he wants you to look at his name first too. So you never look. And that's what we are doing here. This man sitting on the platform, unfortunately, he has to sit on a platform, I don't know why, for convenience. He sits there and describes the whole picture in detail. And you say, no, and if you want to know about God, don't you? Whether God created the universe, all this stuff and so on. Now to find out, you have to work, haven't you? Not just accept what the Hindus, ancient Hindus, or the Hebrews, or the Arabs, or the Christian mythology said. You want to find out. And to find out, you have to be a free mind and a free heart. So, sir, where are we now? What time is it, sir? When did I begin? 11, that's right. Now, where are we? In the future, tomorrow, am I going to make a decision about anything? Apart from clothes, house, cars, between this brush and this toothpaste, apart from that, am I going to decide? Am I going to take a decision? No, I mean, am I going to, when I've seen what is involved in it in this tent, am I now going outside again saying, well, Joe, I must, you follow? Are you going to do it?
Why isn't toothpaste relevant? I don't see why you can separate toothpaste and airplane tickets from this. I mean, you're creating a separation between...
Sir, that's what we do, sir. I'm not creating it. I've finished. In my life, I've never decided.
Even about toothpaste?
About it. Toothpaste, yes. About any other thing, I'm never decided. That's the beauty of it. You don't know anything about it. Like, I'm never controlled. But that's it. So, in listening to here this morning, you might say, well, I've really understood it. Perhaps verbally, intellectually, but I see the whole logic and the reason and the practicality of it. But when you go outside, are you going to fall into the trap of the old tradition? If you do, then you haven't listened at all. So there is an action in which decision is not involved at all. See the beauty of it, sir. And one's life has been based on choice and decision. And therefore, continuous battle.